ALC. Welcome to Sensational Sundays.
ALC Global.
I'm calling this session well, I'm going to let it name itself. There was a show on television. I don't know if I doubt it's still there or in syndication, but it was a show on television. And it was just a regular old talk show like anybody else's talk show. But it became very famous or infamous based on how you see it. When every show, every day, they needed to ask a question. And what they wanted to know was who was the baby's daddy. Do y'all remember that show? Whose show was it? What was the guy's name? Maury Povich. Yep. And it got so popular that they never talked about anything after that. They would bring on the mother and the father or the potential father, and they would, somebody had a problem, and they would talk about it, and then the Maury show would turn around and go get a DNA test, and you would wait for the whole show to find out, to hear those one or two words: "You are the baby's father," or "You are not the baby's father." Now, you say, that's just a bunch of mess. I said it was a bunch of mess too. But I'll never forget one time, I said, I don't listen to no stuff like that. And so Sandra's gone on to be in with the ancestors and the elders, has said to me, she said, look at this. I said, I'm not looking at that mess. That is a bunch of gossip and a bunch of junk. I'm not going to pollute my mind with anything like that. And as I was walking past, I got to go to work. As I was walking past, I stopped for about 90 seconds. And then I stopped and just kind of looked over there. That was a few years ago, and several years ago. And after a while, 90 seconds turned into 2 minutes. And I said, well, they don't need me standing here. So I kind of sidled on up and sat down on the couch. She looked at me, and I said, well, what's going on? What happened? And that's it was one of the reasons when I realized something about people and about America. And they went through the whole show. They would get to the commercial, and I thought I would find out who the baby daddy was, and they would say, we'll be right back. And anyway, I sat there for the whole hour. I had bankers waiting on me, I think, for the whole hour. And I didn't want to tell them. I said, Maury's on, I can't come. And they finally said to the boy, you are the father. And I said, I knew it all along. See, I knew it when they, she looked at me. So we understand something about America. America, because of that success of that show, America is messy. And America is nosy. And they put their nose in the other folks' business and believe they have a right to know until it comes to somebody putting their nose into their business. When they put their nose into their business, then they say, I'm free. I'm free here in America. You don't have the right to restrict my freedom and things of that sort. And so, but this is how messy America is. And America is basically built upon two platforms in how we function. Actually, there's a third, but I don't know if I consider that a platform. And one platform is realism, and the other platform is idealism. In other words, realism or ideology. America is built basically on these two platforms. This is how America thinks. Ideology or idealism is taking a glass, filling it half full with water, and ask the question, is the glass half full or is it half empty? everybody will have their own opinion of it. Well, the glass is half full. That's, that's optimism. Glass is half empty, pessimism. But I mean, I'm more of a glass, half full, and some of you all are more of a glass half full or half empty. And how many of you are more half empty? Oh, tell the truth. How many of you are more glass half full? Okay. Realism says, I don't care whether that glass is half full or half empty. I'm thirsty. I'm gonna drink that water. It don't matter what it is. And so America can be a combination of idealism and realism. 80% ideal, 20% realism, 10% idealism, 90%. It can be a combination, but basically they're going to be on those two paths. Now, what is realism? Realism is they look at the facts. The facts say this, and that's basically what it is. What is idealism? Idealism thinks their opinions and feelings that we have about certain things. I'll give you an example. This is what the problem is in America. You have these two camps going on. There are people who are idealists, and they get up and they've been watching the horrible, horrific school shootings over the years. And so they go into Congress and they stand up and they begin to talk about the statistics and how children are killed in the schools and shot, and we need to stop those semi-automatic guns. We need to pull back. We need to do background checks, and we need to go after the gun manufacturers so we can pull these semi-automatics off the street. And you will have congresspersons sitting right there in Congress, listen right there, and then turn around and vote to keep the guns on the street. Okay? They are called Republicans. Now, you say, well, see, there you go being political. No, I'm just telling you what the statistics of it is. Everybody, you have to call these things out for what they are, because if you don't, but then we're the church. This is our job here. This is my job, is to call it out. Not to be Republican or Democrat, but to call out things the way they are. Listen, there are some people who are in the Democratic Party but are closet Republicans. I'm just trying to say, I don't want to go off on many rabbit trails. But when you understand that, then the people get up to talk about it and they cry. It might even be, they show pictures of the kids with how those bullets have just ripped out their lives. And there are people in there that are not moved at all. And why aren't they moved? Because of their idealism. The reality is, well, you don't know, if you took the guns off the street, that does not mean that kids won't get shot or anything like that. Maybe not, but realistically, statistically, at least you can try. But they're saying, but then now you're taking away the fundamental rights of Americans. And by the way, the answer to a bad guy with a gun is a good, say it. Good guy with a gun. See, you already got the Republican talking points in you because they're very good at messaging. And so you know the point. If you got a good, but then they've already watched good guys with guns go down because of the bad guys who've got a plan with a gun. It's not good with a gun, it's a plan with a gun. But anyway, so you can even have the fathers and the mothers of these children that have been hurt and killed, and they still won't budge. And you ask yourself the question, why won't they budge? Because they are not realists. They are, or should I say, they're not acting on that. They're dealing with idealism. In other words, what they believe to be true. Or sometimes they're just straight realists. And the realism is a check from the NRA. So the check from the NRA becomes the realism. So there's no need of me going against it. I may feel I don't like it, but I'm not going to go against it because I'm working through my realism. But how do they get to the idealism on it? So the idealism on it is, well, my constituents, believe in freedom. What is freedom? Freedom is not a realistic concept. Freedom is idealism. But then when you turn around and say that freedom comes from the Constitution, and the Constitution was given to us by God through the founding fathers, now you've introduced theology. Okay? Now you have a third platform, but the theology is literally just a part of the ideology. So now you got that going. So when you go to sleep at night, you sleep at night because you believe that God is in control of the guns. So let them stay in the hands of people, and God's will be done. That's ideology. That's theology. But it also is not realism. You won't even try because we believe that God's will is going to be done. You look at the current problem of America. 2024 is the door into 2025, which you're about to enter into a concept of America that you're not even dreaming of. You're saying, that's such a no big deal, and it's not going to change, and if it does, what difference does it make? Let's put this other guy in. Let's put, the previous president in and see what happens. Because America is messy. And, he's the strongest candidate. He says what he means and means what he says. And all of these different things there, so let's put him in and leave the other one out, because as a matter of fact, the realism concerning that thing of Israel and Gaza, and it's interesting how many people of color have bought under the concept of Israel and Gaza, and they're deep into that. And please understand, because of who I am and what I am, I cannot tolerate the killing of children and babies. You have to understand that about those of us, the way we are. I don't believe in it. I don't condone it. I will stand up against it. If I were to say anything, I would say stop firing the bullets. This is me on a theological concept here. But the realism is they got to figure out how they're going to do this. And really, we think that's not my job. Just stop firing the bullets and killing these people. But they don't know what to do or how to do it. Why? Because there's an ideology there. There is an ideology about Israel. And is that me? Okay. There's an ideology about Israel and Gaza that when you look back in the Bible is the Israelites and the Amalekites. And it's God who's on the side of Israel and not the Amalekites. Oh, there's so many principles here. But what we don't understand, realism means there's something that can be wrong and right at the same time. Our people, or people of color, can look at things through one lens, as a Christian lens, and not look at it for what it really is.
Let me break in here for a second. I want to tell you a little secret. There is something I used to do. It was commodity trading. And they used to have something on the list called winter wheat. I never knew what it was, never paid any attention to it, because in my northern background, all I saw in the winter was hard ground, snow. How could anything grow? Well, I learned different. I learned that winter wheat was something that was planted around the fall, around September, October. And when it was planted, they didn't just throw the seed out there on the ground. Of course, it would be too hard. But they drilled down into the earth and almost like planted them one by one. Now, when the snow came and the winter came, it would go dormant. But when the spring came, it would come up again. And they would harvest it around that time. Winter wheat. In other words, there are things in our lives that we plant in times when people think they won't grow. There's a number 9 that I believe symbolizes finality. It symbolizes harvest. It symbolizes the end of something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10, you start all over again. This is 2024. 2, 2, 4 equals 8, new beginnings. But watch this. You can plant during the new beginnings, but you can't eat the harvest until later. When you plant something, it takes time. Sometimes it's dormant. Sometimes there's a winter. Sometimes you feel like everything is shut down, just like the earth is shut down in the winter. But you know what? Spring is coming. A different kind of growth is about to take place. So what you thought was not going to happen is going to happen. It's a seed that you plant in the earth. The seed and the need. The need is in the seed, and the seed is in the need. So whatever it is that you need, and whatever needs you see around you, plant it. It might be $9.90. It might be, for those of you who have it, and people have it, it might be $90.90, or it might be $99.90, whatever. Put a 9 in that offering. It might just be $9. Whatever it is, take the time. Plant it now. You can call the number. You can text to give. People love it. 713-742-2035. That's 713-742-2035. Or you can go to myalc.org. I love myalc.org. It's safe. It's secure. And you can hit that donate button, smash it, crash it, hit it. Let it be known that you're there. And you will see how to do it. Look, there are a lot of needs around in this world. There's going to be a lot of issues coming up. It's going to look like everything is lying dormant. But remember, if you put your seed in the ground, it's already coming up while you're not thinking about it. In the wintertime, it's not the heat from the sun outside that will grow this seed. Guess what? It's going to be the warmth of the sun inside that will make this seed come to life. It's going to be a warmth, like warm oil inside of you. Give, you'll feel it, and it will make a difference not only in the lives of others, but also in your life. All right? We love you. Stay blessed.
Realism. And according to where you go to church and who's that prophetic voice in your ear, you see things differently. You remember that thing about people were going around without masks, and they were saying, you got to walk by faith, take off your mask. And then they would get up in your face and talk to you during COVID. And they would do the same thing to me, and I would tell them, put your mask on. And they were saying, we don't believe in science. Science is realism. Pull off the mask because we're free. Ideology. Now, what can make me sick? Ideology can make me sick. That COVID thing can make you sick. It's better to be real, put your mask on whether it's true or not. and be safe. That way you will know you are not the father. Now, if you don't put the mask on, you can quote on your knees all day long, I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe I'm not the father, and that's not going to work because that's theology into idealism, and idealism does not work here. But you got folk that believe in idealism and theology, and this is how they roll. So the question comes in, this their theology. In other words, what is the theology? This is where you are going to have to, this is what I'm going to be doing this year, talking with you about this year. This is the beginning of Black history. All of this is going to be important, where things come from, why things come from here. That's why I'm not going to spend too much time. Kind of get my voice back and get myself back in order. So I'm going to stop in just about 5 minutes. And you got to get back to understanding what's real and what's true. When you go into a church and that church tells you we don't preach politics or things or socialism or wokeism, we just preach Jesus, I tell you and tell people you better open up your eyes and watch and listen and be careful of what you're hearing. Here is the idealism concerning America. It is something called premillennial. It is the belief that Jesus is about to come back and that we must get our world back in order to prepare for Jesus to come back and rule the planet. All right? You've heard that. You know that. And this is prevalent in America. In a Muslim country, they're not going to say that. In Israel, they're not going to say it because that's not what they believe. But in America, 89%, these are what are called evangelical. It comes out of Europe. It has always been there, prevalent from the Reformation movement. I don't want to get too deep in the history. And they believe that when Jesus comes back, Jesus will sit on his throne and rule the nations. And the belief is, some believe it's going to be from Israel, some believe it's going to be from America. And Jesus, whose father is God, and if you paint Jesus as long hair, stringy, certain European features, which is how Jesus has been painted, then in normal minds, idealistic minds, his father would look the same way. We all know God is a spirit, but that don't matter to those people, the people. He looks the same way. Jesus came from his father. All of this. And so Jesus is going to be there and help us rule. And we will rule at the side of Jesus. Now, who decides who rules at the side of God and Jesus? So now you got God up in the sky, Jesus up in the sky. And this is what we've been, and he's going to come back. So now you got people of color and other people who are saying, well, come with us. We're colorblind. Colorblind, first of all, as Abraham said, well, he considered not his own body to be dead, but believed that God was able to do what he performed in Romans 4. In other words, Abraham was 100 years old, but believed that God would give him the strength to have a child with Sarah. But he had to first of all look at the reality that his body was old, and then look at the fact that God has now given him the power to overcome his reality. Are you following me? So you have to have the power. You have to first of all look at color before you can be colorblind. So you first of all look at someone who is black and say, but I'm colorblind, which means I now erase that color, which means that their color was a basis of my consideration, which it is never supposed to be that way. God is up in the sky. Jesus is sitting next to him, and one day we are about to rule. We must make America great again and bring Jesus back so that Jesus can rule, which is what is called Christian nationalism. Okay? Here comes the problem. We done put Jesus in the sky, God in the sky. They're over there. We got pictures of Jesus, paintings of Jesus, which means there are other people who believe they are descendants of Jesus because they are like him. But if your color is not the same, then you can't be like him. You say, but we didn't decide the color. Doesn't matter. You're living in a Christian nation. The majority decides what the color is. Now, here's my final point, because I got all year to work on this, probably about 8 months to work on this. If we go to God and we get some DNA out of the Bible, and God made man, and God said, let us make man, let us make man, let us make man. Who is he talking about? Us. That's what it says. If God is God all by himself, who is us? Well, we're talking about the Word and wisdom. The Word is Father God. The wisdom is Mother God. So he made us, and she made us. Now, I'm messing with you, really. I'm really messing with your brain because I'm trying to throw you into another place of existence. But your scriptures are so plain, and you say it in church, people say it all their lives. God is a mother for the motherless and a father for the fatherless. So God is father and mother. God is pulled God out of sexuality altogether. Now here's the question. When you take his DNA and you take the DNA of the baby, that's us. You're going to discover something concerning the Word of God. That the DNA of God and the DNA of his children, image and likeness, are the same DNA. When you look at me, you're looking at an offspring of God. When I look at you, I'm looking at an offspring of God. When we look at each other, when we look at ourselves in the mirror, you're looking at an offspring of God. America, with its messiness, doesn't need you to believe you are an offspring of God. They need you to believe you are one of God's little children. Pickaninnies that go around serving God. We don't serve God. We are the sons and the adopted daughters of God. Angels serve us. That's what the scripture and the word says, that angels are ministering spirits unto us. And Jesus fasted 40 days, and afterwards the angels came and ministered unto him. And as he is, so are we in this world. See, this is where we got to get to where it is automatic. But if they keep taking your history and your books and telling you, well, we're colorblind. I don't care whether you're colorblind or not. I'm not going to be in your church, because what you're preaching and teaching is tainted. You're going to be sitting next to Jesus, and I'm going to be serving you all. Oh, no. We all serve together. And that's what the problem is. People of color are not mad at white people. We're not angry. And we're not trying to make you our servants. We all work this country together. But there are groups of people that feel we don't work together. You are always what you always have been, the servants in America. And this is what your preachers are now beginning. We're beginning to talk about it more. So that means the theology has to change. The ideologies have to change. We got to get more real in what we're saying. And some things we used to believe, we may not believe anymore, or we may not, or should I say, we will step up from that belief and move on up, as the song Mahalia Jackson, move on up a little higher. That's my goal this year. My goal this year is to take that word, break it down, and begin to build what is called the great big family. The great big family are the people who know who they are, and we no longer drop our heads trying to be Christians. And my statement to you today, you've waited this long, and I'm telling you now, you are the sons and daughters of God.
Let me break in here for a second. I want to tell you a little secret. There is something I used to do. It was commodity trading. And they used to have something on the list called winter wheat. I never knew what it was, never paid any attention to it, because in my northern background, all I saw in the winter was hard ground, snow. How could anything grow? Well, I learned different. I learned that winter wheat was something that was planted around the fall, around September, October. And when it was planted, they didn't just throw the seed out there on the ground. Of course, it would be too hard. But they drilled down into the earth and almost like planted them one by one. Now, when the snow came and the winter came, it would go dormant. But when the spring came, it would come up again. And they would harvest it around that time. Winter wheat. In other words, there are things in our lives that we plant in times when people think they won't grow. There's a number 9 that I believe symbolizes finality. It symbolizes harvest. It symbolizes the end of something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10, you start all over again. This is 2024. 2, 2, 4 equals 8, new beginnings. But watch this. You can plant during the new beginnings, but you can't eat the harvest until later. When you plant something, it takes time. Sometimes it's dormant. Sometimes there's a winter. Sometimes you feel like everything is shut down, just like the earth is shut down in the winter. But you know what? Spring is coming. A different kind of growth is about to take place. So what you thought was not going to happen is going to happen. It's a seed that you plant in the earth. The seed and the need. The need is in the seed, and the seed is in the need. So whatever it is that you need, and whatever needs you see around you, plant it. It might be $9.90. It might be, for those of you who have it, and people have it, it might be $90.90, or it might be $99.90, whatever. Put a 9 in that offering. It might just be $9. Whatever it is, take the time. Plant it now. You can call the number. You can text to give. People love it. 713-742-2035. That's 713-742-2035. Or you can go to myalc.org. I love myalc.org. It's safe, it's secure. And you can hit that donate button, smash it, crash it, hit it. Let it be known that you're there. And you will see how to do it. Look, there are a lot of needs around in this world. There's going to be a lot of issues coming up. It's going to look like everything is lying dormant. But remember, if you put your seed in the ground, it's already coming up while you're not thinking about it. In the wintertime, it's not the heat from the sun outside that will grow this seed. Guess what? It's going to be the warmth of the sun inside that will make this seed come to life. It's going to be a warmth, like warm oil inside of you. Give, you'll feel it, and it will make a difference not only in the lives of others, but also in your life. All right? We love you. Stay blessed.